Ah, there you are. Perfect. I was just about to tell everyone why I am the greatest healer in all the land. My skill with a life staff is not to be compared. But listen, don't take it from me. Take it from these lords themselves.
If Jesus himself healed me, I would say to his face, Remmy's heals are better.
Getting healed by Remmy is like getting kissed on the lips by Ryan Reynolds.
Having Remmy's heals is like having LeBron on your elementary school basketball team.
When I step on his sacred ground, I become extremely aroused.
None of these people were told to say any of this. This is all very real and legitimate. I super mean it.
All jokes aside, let's talk about some of the things that you should do to become the best healer that you could possibly be in New World. Soon, tanks and DPSs will share stories of your brilliance and magnificence in battle. Okay, let's start with some of the basics. First, you want to make sure that you're wearing light armor, or at least that your overall weight is in the light armor category. The reason you want to be in the lightweight category is so that you can tumble when you dodge, not just hop from side to side.
He's a freak. He's about to get one.
Also, make sure right at the end of your tumble, you swap your weapons to perform a cancel animation. This is the most effective way to tumble and not have to recover at the end of that tumble. Let's talk about attribute points. I like to follow the 4-1-1 system. Basically what that means is for every 6 points of attribute that you get from levels, you want to put 4 of them into focus, 1 of them into constitution, and then 1 into whatever the mastery of your swap weapon is. For me, I go life staff, ice gauntlet. So every 6 points, I put 4 points into focus, 1 point into constitution, and 1 point into intelligence. Speaking of secondaries, I highly recommend that you pick something that has crowd control effects or has some kind of movement ability attached to it. For example, the ice gauntlets have ice shower and ice storm. Both of these abilities either slow or root your enemies, which gives you a chance to escape. You could also try the fire staff or the rapier or the hatchet as your secondary. All of those have abilities that are going to increase your speed or have movement. One last thing I want to talk about is what trade skills you should focus on. As a healer, I would go for Arcana, Harvesting, and Weaving.
The price is $200 per quilt.
Weaving because you're looking for mostly light armor items, Arcana because you're gonna need a ton of mana potions, and Harvesting because most of the stuff you get from harvesting is gonna be used to make those potions. All right, now let's finally talk about the life staff. To become the greatest healer in all the land and have minstrels sing tales of your success, you're gonna wanna use the Orb of Protection, Sacred Ground, and Beacon. Sacred Ground is a must, no matter what kind of healer you are. You're gonna want that super strong area of effect heal. Plus, once you add Holy Ground on top of that and Blessed, Sacred Ground is super OP. Now, we went with Orb of Protection for 2 reasons. 1, adding the Fortify buff in a fight is super valuable, and 2, it also does damage to enemies. Being able to deal a little bit extra damage to your enemies is super valuable in solo situations when you need a little bit more. And finally, Beacon is super strong, and I would say one of the more overlooked abilities when it comes to being a very good healer. Being able to attach a heal to an ally that follows them around and heals them over time is super valuable during fights, between fights, and in a whole bunch of other situations. Also, because it's an AoE ability, if you attach this to an enemy, everybody who's up close fighting that enemy like DPS and tanks, they're going to be super thankful that you threw a beacon up.
Thank you very much, Miss Lippy!
Beacon, as well as Orb of Protection, also deals damage. Having 2 abilities that can deal damage is super useful in solo situations when you're PvEing as a healer. It's obviously super important that with this build, you get Divine Blessing, not only because it's super strong, but Magnify is not an option with this build. Okay, a few notes to wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
You want to make sure you get Bend Light. Bend Light is super important because you're going to be dodging a lot with this build. And getting a 20% healing increase every time you dodge, it basically means you have a permanent 20% healing increase while you're playing. Also, make sure you put a point in Revitalize. Having the reduced cooldowns is super helpful. Blissful Touch is also really good because it adds a heal to your light attacks, and you're going to be using light attacks very often. Also, Holy Ground is super important for restoring stamina and mana between fights. Let's talk about weapons and gear for a second. Unfortunately, there isn't too much to talk about yet because a lot of the weapons and locations that you can get weapons are not available. For now, the best gear that you can get is in the faction shop, especially if you're running an intelligence weapon as your secondary. You can heal yourself with light attacks or Orb of Protection. Just shoot at your feet and you'll get the heal. Don't forget, mana potions and focus foods, foods in general, all types of arcana and cooking, those are your best friend as a healer. Welcome to the Healers God Squad. Soon, tanks and DPSs will share stories of your brilliance and magnificence in battle. Minstrels will sing tales